Welcome back to another edition of the Final Wrap, your official NFL and fantasy football sports talk radio show live on DerekShapiroShow.com. As always, I am your host, the NFL Exporter. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me again. You want to make sure to join me each and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we recap all of your NFL and fantasy football action each and every week. As always, before we get into our first segment, let's make sure you know how to find us on our social networks. That's a great way to keep up with the latest news and updates. For myself, the NFL Exporter, you can find me on Twitter at NFL Exporter. You can find me on Facebook.com/NFL Exporter. You can also go to YouTube.com, click on channels. In the search engine, put NFL Exporter. And for all the above, NFL Exporter is spelled NFLExporter. To find Derek Shapiro on Twitter, it's at Derek Shapiro Show, and show is spelled SHO. You can also go to Facebook.com/Derek Shapiro. You will see a picture of Derek with the former Fugees member Wyclef Jean. And to be a part of the show, I definitely would like to hear from some of my audience out there. If you want to give a call to the show, the number is 716-249-0552. If you would prefer to use email, the email address is NFLExporter. That's NFLExporter@yahoo.com. Just leave your name, your city and state, your favorite football team, and whatever it is you would like for me to talk about during the show. So if you need some fantasy football advice, have some questions, just want to chop it up about NFL or fantasy football, certainly love to hear from my listeners and viewers out there. Now, what's going on around the NFL right now as we are 5 weeks into the season? Certainly the injuries are continuing to mount up here. Notably, Calvin Johnson, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, he is going to miss this upcoming week's game against the Minnesota Vikings. He's been laboring on that ankle since a Week 3 win over the Green Bay Packers. The last couple weeks against the Jets and the Bills, got out there on the field, but just was not at 100%. And so I think it's in the Lions' best interest to go ahead and let him sit down. He'll basically miss 2 weeks of worth of action and get that ankle healed all the way back up. Without question, Megatron is the top wide receiver in the NFL, but when he's on a bad ankle, it's just not the same, and certainly is hurting the production for quarterback Matt Stafford. Golden Tate has been a viable asset. Nonetheless, it's just not the same offense, that passing game without Calvin Johnson in there. Also, Reggie Bush suffered an ankle injury. Doesn't appear to be serious. He walked off on his own power, didn't need any assistance. Nonetheless, we've all know that Bush, unfortunately, is a very injury-prone player. He expects to play this Sunday. He said he's going to prepare like he always does. So we'll certainly keep a close eye on that. Running back Drake Bell, who missed the game against Buffalo this past week with the concussion, he's going to be back up in the lineup too. Jake Locker, man, this guy's luck just continues to not be good. He already came into this season with a history of injuries. Started off this season and suffered a wrist injury. Was out a couple weeks. Came back in Week 5 against Cleveland. He hurt his thumb, and so he's going to have an MRI on that. You see that happen to quarterbacks a lot. They throw the football as a defender is coming at him, and their hand hits the player's helmet, and that's exactly what happened to Locker. So he's got to get an MRI done on his thumb to see if he's going to be able to go this upcoming week. Jimmy Graham, tight end for the New Orleans Saints, suffered a shoulder injury. The good thing for New Orleans is that they have a bye this week, so they don't play again till Week 7. And based on pretty much the information that's been disclosed thus far, we don't expect for Graham to miss any time, but we'll certainly keep an eye on that. The biggest injury that came out of Week 5 around the NFL was the Broncos running back Monty Ball. He suffered a strained groin. He's probably going to miss anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. Obviously depends on how quickly he can recover from the injury. and get back on the football field. Obviously, that's an injury that's going to affect your running. As you can't run with the groin injury, and so he's going to be out for a while. He really hadn't done too much. Now the Broncos had only played 4 games. In his first game, he was pretty productive, had a touchdown. The second game didn't score, but had 80 all-purpose yards, and then just popped up MIA, which running backs do a lot of times when you go and play at Seattle. And then this was the 4th game for Denver against Arizona. And at the point that he got hurt, he hadn't done much anyway. So I can't say that they're going to miss him. He, again, really hadn't done too much. Nonetheless, Denver will have to roll with a couple backup running backs until he returns. Running back Ronnie Hillman, who was there last year, is going to step in as the starter now. Zach Stacy for the St. Louis Rams suffered a calf injury. He may be out for a while. Again, the seriousness of the injury has not yet been disclosed, but you're figuring probably a week or two minimum, depending on how serious that is. So we'll keep an eye on Zach Stacy for the Rams. Also, Rashard Jennings. This was a pretty important injury as well. I would probably say, I guess at this point, a little bit more notable than Monty Ball. For Jennings, he is the starting running back for the New York Giants. Suffered a sprained MCL. Those injuries can range anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks, depending on the seriousness of it and how quickly a player recovers and can get back out there on the football field. And so we'll certainly keep an eye on that until he comes back. Rookie Andre Williams is going to pick up the workload for the Giants there. Quarterback Drew Stanton left the game Sunday against the Broncos with a concussion. We'll have to see if he's going to be available for this week's game against the Washington Redskins. I am quite sure the Cardinals are keeping their fingers crossed on that one, because if he can't go, and it doesn't appear that starter Carson Palmer is going to be able to play, they're going to be down to a 3rd-string quarterback who's a rookie out of Virginia Tech, and he just looked like a deer in headlights out there this past Sunday against Denver. So I'm quite sure they want to get either Stanton or Palmer back as soon as possible. Also, running back Donald Brown for the Chargers left this past week's game with a concussion as well. As a formality, all players who have a concussion or leave a game with a concussion have to go through the NFL's procedures and guidelines to make sure they're ready to go the following week. And so that remains to be seen for both Stanton and Brown. If Brown is unable to go, they're going to have their 3rd stringer, Brandon Oliver, who absolutely had a stellar game. We'll get to him when we get to our fantasy football section. But both Donald Brown and Ryan Matthews, the top 2 running backs for San Diego, are probably not going to be available for this week's game. Moving on to some other interesting topics around the NFL from Week 5. How about the defenses in the NFC being horrible? When you look in the NFC East, Philadelphia, Dallas, Washington, the Giants, they're not playing defense. And surprisingly, I will say, the Giants and Dallas are playing a little bit more solid, but they're just not playing defense. You look in the NFC North, Minnesota gave up 42 last week. Green Bay, their defense hasn't really done a whole lot this year to impress. The Bears, they've given up 38 and 31 points back-to-back weeks. And then Detroit, their defense is playing well out of the NFC North. And then you look at the NFC South, these guys aren't playing defense. Carolina, they're giving up 3 weeks of 30, 37, 38, 24. You look at Atlanta, they're giving up 41 and 30 points in their last 2 games. You look at Tampa Bay, they've given up 24 and 37 in their last 2 games. You look at New Orleans, they've given up 38 and 34 in their last 2 games. So I mean, they're just not playing defense in the NFC right now. Then you look at the NFC West. St. Louis, kind of by default, their offense isn't too well, but they've given up over 30 points in their last 2 contests. And the Arizona Cardinals, grain of salt here. I know that the Cardinals have one of the better defenses, but injuries are starting to pile up. They're without Darrell Washington. They're without Darnell Dockett. They lost Calais Campbell, another defensive tackle, for maybe about 3 to 4 weeks. Patrick Peterson, he left Sunday's game with an ankle injury. And when you look at the 2 games that the Cardinals did well this year against teams that are valid, it was Week 1 against San Diego, but it was in Arizona, and that defense definitely plays lights out at home. And then in week 3 against San Francisco, I don't think that San Francisco really brought the right game plan to the table. And then you look at their other 2 games that they played. I mean, they beat the Giants, and I forget who the other team was that Arizona beat, but they weren't anybody worthwhile. As a matter of fact, you know what? I apologize. They played San Diego, San Francisco, and the Giants in their first 3 weeks and had a bye game. You see them against Peyton Manning, and you see what happened. And so I'm kind of iffy on them. So right now, the only teams that are playing some legitimate defense in the NFC right now is San Francisco, Seattle, and Detroit. And so I don't know if that is going to hold up, but if so, you're certainly looking at San Francisco and Seattle being your favorites coming out of the NFC right now, because from what I'm seeing out of Detroit, it's going to be their inability to run the football. And they're just a team that continues to find ways to lose, missing field goals, penalties. It's just, I don't know. I thought Jim Caldwell can come and clean things up over there. We'll see how that turns out. Golden Tate, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. He did not like the fact that the Bills hoisted their defensive coordinator up on their shoulders, Jim Schwartz, and carried him off the football field after the Bills beat the Lions this past Sunday. And so I have an issue with him having an issue with that. Look, Golden Tate, number one, if your team would have won the ball game, then there would be no reason for Buffalo to carry their coach out. And number 2, Schwartz was the former head coach of Detroit, and I'm quite sure he was fired up playing his old team. And his defense certainly came out and played for him this week. Did a great job holding Detroit to just 14 points. And so if they came out and played for their head coach, yeah, they can put him on their shoulders and carry him off the field if they like to, because I'm quite sure it was some sweet revenge for Jim Schwartz. So Golden Tate, keep that in mind. That's something that you learn from a youth on up. When it comes to being competitive or in athletics, if you don't want somebody to celebrate or talk junk or whatever the case may be, then you handle that by beating them. And so Golden Tate, suck it up. Bruce Arians, the head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, I don't like his comment either. His comment was that what happened was the tight end for the Broncos, Julius Thomas, basically illegally, I guess, chop block defensive end Calais Campbell. And when you look at the play, he doesn't even really hit him in his knee. It's not like a blatant attack on the knee area. It's really kind of on the thigh/knee. Nonetheless, what happened was Campbell suffered a sprained MCL. He's going to be out maybe 3 to 4 weeks. At that point, the game was well out of hand anyway. Bruce Arians mentioned the Arizona was still in the game. Nonetheless, Arians' comments were after the game that he's been around the NFL as a coach or player or assistant or whatever for 37 years, and it's the dirtiest play he's ever seen. Bruce Arians, get over it. Look, this what are we in 2014? So you're talking 2004, 1994, 1984. Let me just make sure I got my math right here. We're in 2014, so 2004 is 10 years, 94 is 20, 84 is 30. He's talking about almost back to 1974. Come on, Bruce Arians. I know you're upset that your player got hurt. You're probably embarrassed that your team got blown out. But the dirtiest play you've seen in 37 years of football, yeah, come on. Let's get real here. If he wouldn't have got injured, you wouldn't have had anything to say about it. And that's what I don't like sometimes about these comments, that you're only making that comment because your player got hurt. If he wouldn't have got hurt, you wouldn't have said anything about it. Whatever the case is, it was not the dirtiest play that any of us have seen. We've seen way worse. I can tell you, we know that. We've seen Ndamukong Suh, and I'm not trying to call him out or bring back dirt on his name, but we've seen Ndamukong Suh a step on a player's helmet. We've seen Albert Haynesworth step on a guy's hand with his cleats. So get over it, Bruce Arians. I know you're upset, but that is not what the dirtiest play in the last 37 years. Last but not least, let's go ahead and get this debate out the way about who's the best quarterback in the NFL. I guess at least if we want to go regular season. I know people like to bring in how many rings a player has and how many Super Bowls and appearances and so on and so forth. I had no problem with that. But if we're talking about who's the best quarterback in the NFL, and Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, those are the quarterbacks who are constantly in the discussion. And to tell you the honest truth, with the way that Russell Wilson is playing this year, I think his name needs to be in that conversation as well. Phillip Rivers too. If we're talking about just this year. But let's put that conversation to rest. Without question, it is Peyton Manning. I don't care what defense you put out there against this guy. Obviously, we've seen Seattle take it to him last year. He had a couple, games where he didn't do that well. But he's a human being, and it's not just about him. The offense, there are a lot of outside factors that play into it. But if you're talking about week in and week out, what quarterback would you want on your starting for your football team? I don't think there's any question it's Peyton Manning, a guy who brought his own playbook over to Denver. It makes life so easy on an offensive coordinator. He's calling his own plays. He's spending time before, after practice, during practice with these players. He practices on his own. This guy lives, breathes, sleeps football. And after seeing him, congratulations to him. He is going to shatter the NFL passing touchdown record. Right now, he is 5 TD passes behind Brett Favre. Brett Favre has 508 after 479 yards and 4 TDs against Arizona. And these were perfect passes, by the way. These were passes that were only his wide receivers who were the only ones who could get their hands on these footballs. But Peyton Manning, after his 4 TD performance, he now has 503 touchdown passes in his career. So congratulations to him. Without question, hands down, Peyton Manning is the best quarterback in the NFL. Let's go ahead and put that discussion to rest. I think that we can certainly argue about who's second with Rodgers and Breeze and Brady. And again, like I said, Phillip Rivers and Russell Wilson are playing at a high level this year. But without question, Peyton Manning is the best quarterback in the NFL. Let's go ahead and take a break. I am the NFL Exporter. You are listening to The Final Wrap on DerekShapiroShow.com. When we come back, let's talk some fantasy football. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to The Final Wrap, your official NFL and fantasy football show on DerekShapiroShow.com. As always, I'm your host, the NFL Exporter. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at NFLExporter and Facebook.com/NFL Exporter. That is NFLExporter. Also, I would love to hear from some of my listeners and viewers out there. The call-in number to the show is 716-249-0552. Now let's go ahead and do like we do every week. Let's recap the top 5 players at each position for fantasy football. Your top point scorer for fantasy football this past week, and we actually had a tie. And so at quarterback, it was Russell Wilson. The Seattle Seahawks had a stellar game. Again, this guy, man, he's on his way up the ladder. Wilson is in his 3rd year. In his first 2 years, he's averaged 26 TD passes, 9 interceptions. Can get it done with his feet, but I mean, I'm kind of, man, Russell Wilson, this guy, I just have to say, in his 3rd year, man, this guy is just playing at an elite level. Certainly has to be in the conversations right now for the MVP. Came out on Monday Night Football, had 200 passing yards, 122 rushing yards, 3 total TDs. That was good for 34 points. As we mentioned, Peyton Manning had 479 yards and 4 TDs against Arizona. That was good for 31 points. How about rookie Austin Davis shining for the St. Louis Rams, back-to-back games with over 300 yards and 3 TDs. He had 375 and 3 TDs against Philly. That was good for 26 points. Talked about Phillip Rivers, continues to excel. 288 yards, 3 TDs against the Jets. That was good for 21 points. Jay Cutler, again, very shaky from a normal football perspective, but in fantasy football, he's getting the job done. 289 yards, 2 TDs passes, also ran one in. That was good for 21 points. And Brian Hoyer certainly has proven his head coach Mike Pettine and his offensive coordinator correct, being the starter. I think that once that decision was made, he certainly took a lot of pressure off him. He had 292 yards, 3 TDs. That was good for 21 points. Was a big part of leading Cleveland back from down 25 points on the road in Tennessee to come up with a big-time victory there. And then Tom Brady. Finally got some time back there in the pocket. Played with the sense of urgency that you would expect for New England to after they were embarrassed a week ago on Monday Night Football. Brady had 292 yards, 2 TDs. That was good for 20 points. Moving over to our running backs. How about Brandon Oliver, who is the third string running back for the Chargers? Nonetheless, came in after Donald Brown got hurt and gave you 182 all-purpose yards, 2 TDs. That was good for 29 points. Arian Foster had a big game against Dallas. That was 157 rush yards, 2 TDs. That was good for 28 points. You've got Andre Ellington for the Arizona Cardinals, 143 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns. That was good for 26 points. Eddie Lacy for the Packers finally got on track against that woeful Minnesota defense. He had 105 rush yards, 2 TDs. That was good for 24 points. And Pierre Thomas for the New Orleans Saints makes his way into the top 5 for the first time this season. He had 112 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns. That was good for 22 points. When we're talking about the other guy who was tied for the lead in fantasy football for the most points scored in Week 5, it was Demaryius Thomas of the Denver Broncos. Man, this guy exploded. 8 catches, 226 yards, 2 TDs. That was good for 34 points. He broke the franchise record for most receiving yards in the game for the Denver Broncos. Thomas obviously is a big-time player. Deshaun Jackson, although it was in a losing effort, had 157 receiving yards and a touchdown against Washington. That was good for 21 points. We had Kendall Wright of the Tennessee Titans, and Brian Quick of the St. Louis Rams. There. Both of those gentlemen had 2 touchdown catches. That was good for 20 points. And Golden Tate, Detroit Lions, filling in nice for Calvin Johnson, had 134 receiving yards and a touchdown. That was good for 19 points. And then Travis Benjamin, a guy I'm quite sure who wasn't in anybody's lineup. Nonetheless, he had 48 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns against Tennessee. He actually caught the game winner to seal the deal in that huge comeback for Cleveland. He had 16 points as well. Taking it over to our tight ends, it was Greg Olsen for the Carolina Panthers with 72 receiving yards, 2 TDs. That was good for 19 points. We had a couple guys on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but certainly great ball players. We had the crafty veteran who's a future Hall of Famer, and Antonio Gates, 60 yards, 2 TDs. That was good for 18 points. Julius Thomas, a guy who obviously is not going to have Peyton Manning his whole career. If he did, he would certainly be a future Hall of Famer. Nonetheless, this guy's a stud right now. Julius Thomas for the Denver Broncos had 18 points as well. Rob Gronkowski had 100 yards and a touchdown. That was good for 16 points. You have Tim Wright, the other tight end for New England. He decided to go with a couple double tight end set. That was a nice adjustment made there by the Patriots. He had 85 yards and a touchdown. That was good for 14 points. And then Dwayne Allen for the Indianapolis Colts. This guy's doing his thing. 3 straight weeks with a touchdown catch. He had 11 points. Our top defense special teams, it was the Green Bay Packers humiliating the Minnesota Vikings on last Thursday Night Football 42-10. They were able to capitalize on third string Christian Ponder for 23 points. The Eagles defense special teams continues to impress. They had another block punt for a touchdown and return another a fumble for a touchdown. I'm wondering how long this can continue. They have certainly been just killing it in fantasy football for defensive special teams. The Panthers defense finally showed back up. Jay Cutler was the remedy there. They got him for 18 points. Steelers defense gave rookie Blake Bortles a difficult time. He had the Steelers defense had 16 points, and the Colts were solid in their home win against the Ravens. Forced some fumbles, picked off Joe Flacco once. They had 15 points. And then our kickers this week, man, these guys put up some nice numbers. The first 2 guys, you have Stephen Gostkowski for New England. He had 21 points. Yeah, a kicker. Been a long time for that. Seen him with 21 points. And you had Phil Dawson for the San Francisco 49ers with 20. So that's rare that you see a kicker with 20 points, let alone 2 in 1 week. Next, it was Josh Brown for the Giants with 15. Shane Graham of the Saints with 12. McManus for Denver with 12. And also Dan Carpenter, the kicker for the Bills, 11 points. And, man, let me tell you, he drilled a 58-yarder with about 20 seconds left in their game against Detroit to seal the deal. What a clutch kick that was. That is going to round out our top fantasy performers for Week 5 around the NFL. That is going to wrap up our fantasy football segment for the day. When we return, we'll go ahead and do what we do. The show is called The Final Wrap because after all the NFL and fantasy football action is wrapped up for the week, we come back and recap all of those games to give you the inside scoop on what happened and really let you know why some of these teams were able to win or lose. We take a look inside the numbers. Got some great stats for you this week. Certainly, I would say that when we take a look inside of these games, we'll certainly understand why some of these teams were able to win and why some of these teams ended up losing. It is the NFL Exporter. This is the Final Wrap. You are listening to DerekShapiroShow.com. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you for returning to the Final Wrap, your official NFL sports talk show on DerekShapiroShow.com. I am your host, the NFL Exporter, and you want to make sure to join me each and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to recap all of the NFL and fantasy football action from each week. You also want to make sure to connect with me on my social networks. You can find me on Twitter at NFL Exporter. You can also go to Facebook.com/NFL Exporter. For both of those, it's spelled NFLExporter. And if you would like to call into the show, the number that you use is 716-249-0552. Now let's go ahead and start recapping our action from Week 5 around the NFL. Things got started on Thursday night with the Green Bay Packers routing the Minnesota Vikings 42-10. In this game, Minnesota had to go with third-string quarterback Christian Ponder, so you knew that Minnesota wasn't going to win this game. Green Bay's defense was able to force 3 turnovers. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers had 3 touchdown passes to 3 different receivers, and running back Eddie Lacy for the Packers got on track with 105 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. In this game, again, Christian Ponder at quarterback. It's just not a good situation for any team. This guy right now is just unable to pass the football, which is something that you need to do in the NFL. The Vikings have already said that their rookie starting quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, will be back in the lineup this upcoming week in their big home game against the Detroit Lions. The win for Green Bay has them now at 3-2. The loss for Minnesota drops them down to 2-3. We're going to take a couple look at some ball games now where teams had leads, but their inability to run the football really allowed for the other team to hang around long enough and essentially come back and win those games. Again, if you cannot run the football effectively, at least when you need to, you're not going to be able to close out games in the NFL, especially if you're on the road. The first game that we seen that happen was the Carolina Panthers beating the Chicago Bears 31-21, and just sloppy play on Chicago's part. You're going on the road, and you have 4 turnovers. The first being a pick six the quarterback Jay Cutler threw. It was a 70-yard interception return for a touchdown to put Chicago in an immediate 7-0 hole. We've seen it from Chicago this year. In the 2 games that they've won, Jay Cutler has not turned the football over. In the 3 games that they have lost, he has 2 interceptions in each of those games. And look, Chicago got out to a 21-7 lead in this game, but Matt Forte only 61 yards on 17 carries. And again, that inability to run the football effectively allowed for Carolina to stay in this one long enough, being at home, to eventually pick up enough momentum to come back and win this game. Now for Chicago, their tight end, Martellus Bennett, was held in check. You certainly credit Carolina there. He only had 3 catches for 17 yards, and it's obvious that Brandon Marshall is not 100%. He's laboring out there running his routes for the Bears, and so it's pretty much left up to Alshon Jeffrey and Matt Forte, and those are certainly viable weapons. But the other thing for the Chicago team is they're not playing any defense right now. You know, we are used to seeing a Bears defense that is very tough. It doesn't give up pass plays, big pass plays. They're able to get pressure on the quarterback and just play really better. And so, again, this Bears defense right now, they're just not showing up. They gave up 38 points last week to Green Bay, gave up 31 points to Carolina, a team who's really struggled offensively the past 2 weeks. And you knew that Carolina was one-dimensional. They're down to a 4th-string running back. The Chicago did hold to 35 yards, but once Carolina began to pass the football, there's no way that you're going to let them come back and win that football game. And so big win for Carolina at home. Cam Newton, 250 passing yards. Both his touchdowns were to tight end Greg Olsen. The win for Carolina has them at 3-2. Chicago now drops to 2-3. Another game that we've seen this happen was Cleveland. They had a big-time road comeback victory, 29-28 over the Tennessee Titans. In this one, Tennessee basically played a perfect first half of football. They were up 28-10 at halftime, but their inability to run the football. Their 2 starting running backs, Sean Green, 11 carries, 37 yards. Bishop Sankey, 8 carries, 27 yards. When you are unable to run the football, you cannot close. The Cleveland Browns, meanwhile, they were able to run the football effectively. Ben Tate had 22 carries for 123 yards. Brian Hoyer had 292 yards, 3 TDs, and 1 interception. In Cleveland, scored 19 straight points after halftime, and particularly a 16-0 run in the 4th quarter to come back and win that game when Brian Hoyer threw a late touchdown pass to seal the deal. In this game, now Cleveland improves to 3-2. Tennessee drops to 1-4, and they're in a ton of trouble in Tennessee. This was a game that they definitely should have won. You let that one slip away, I think they're pretty much done. Other game that we've seen that happen, it was a New Orleans Saints beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 37-31, and here Tampa Bay was up 31-20 with 12 minutes left in this ball game. But again, not being able to run the football really end up hurting this football team. You've got your top running back, Doug Martin, only 14 carries for 41 yards, and that's just not going to get it done. You also are up 5 points as Tampa Bay with about 7 minutes left in that game, and you end up getting sacked in the end zone, quarterback Mike Glennon, for a safety to cut the lead down to 3 points, which allowed for New Orleans to come back down and not have to score a touchdown, but kick a field goal to send the game to overtime. Once it got to overtime, the Saints went ahead and scored a touchdown on their very first drive to seal the deal. Look, in this game, New Orleans continues to struggle running the football. I know you look at the stat sheet at the end of the day, you see 20 carries for 149 yards, but you also see Drew Brees having to throw the football 57 times. And he had 3 interceptions. And again, this was a game that Tampa Bay should have won, but some of these teams obviously just don't know how to close the deal. You got Mike Glennon being efficient, 249 yards and 1 interception, and he threw 2 touchdowns. Vincent Jackson had a big day, 8 catches, 144 yards, but at the end of the day, it's just the inability to run the football, to take time off the clock and really wear defenses out. And again, that safety that Mike Glennon suffered, that ended up to coming back to really hurt Tampa Bay. Now let's take a look at a couple ball games where teams really suffered to convert on third downs, and also some turnovers really hurt some teams. When we look at the Dallas game where you had Dallas beating Houston 20-17 in overtime, this is a game, again, that Houston should have won. Look, Dallas had 3 turnovers, but it was quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick for Houston's inability to pass the football that is really killing the Texans right now. He only had 154 passing yards against a makeshift Dallas secondary. He didn't throw any touchdowns and had 1 interception. Here's a guy who over the last 3 weeks has thrown 7 interceptions. Is really hurting his Texans team. And Houston was only able to convert 4 out of 13 third downs. And so that's going to be the theme over the next couple games. Look, if you cannot convert on third down at a high percentage, or at least at a good percentage, and you can't pass the football at least to convert these third downs, you're not going to win a lot of ball games. Tony Romo made the necessary plays he needed to. He escaped J.J. Watt on 1 potential sack and threw a touchdown to Terrence Williams. And then in overtime, Romo was able to throw up a lob pass to Dez Bryant right before being hit for a possible sack that Bryant came down with. It was a spectacular catch. Bryant went up in the air and caught it right over the defender's head and was able to haul it in. At the end of the day, Dan Bailey, who missed a field goal that could have gave the Cowboys a win in the regulation, he knocked in that another field goal attempt in overtime to give the Cowboys a win. Both of the top running backs in the NFL, both of these guys are definitely 2 of the best running backs. DeMarco Murray had 131 rush yards, had another fumble. He's got to fix that problem. He's got 4 fumbles in his first 5 games this year. Arian Foster looked really good yesterday, 157 running yards and 2 touchdowns. Nonetheless, Dallas gets the victory. They are now 4-1. The Texans are now 3-2. In a major upset, we had the Buffalo Bills beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit 17-14. This is another game where the Lions, a lot of miscues. And this is something that I don't know if this Detroit Lions team is plagued. I thought that head coach Jim Caldwell would be able to come over and clean up some of these miscues, but it continues to be a problem for these Lions. They come out yesterday at home. You have 2 turnovers. First and foremost. And then you're missing 3 field goals. They've had major kicker issues in Detroit this year. They drafted rookie Nick Freese. They cut him before last week's game because he missed 4 out of his first 7 field goals. And now you have a kicker in Alex Henry, who I questioned because he was the kicker in Philadelphia, and they cut him because he was missing field goals. So you go out. Now, he may have been the best guy available, but now this guy's missed 4 field goals in his first 2 games. He missed 3 yesterday. And this is a game that Detroit obviously should have won, but neither team was able to run. The Bills and Detroit post top 5 run defenses. And so when you look at Detroit, you're saying you couldn't run the football. You have 2 turnovers. You missed 3 field goals. And then you're only converting 1 out of 11 third downs. And that's certainly not going to win games. Meanwhile, for Buffalo, Kyle Orton got in as starter, won his first game. Look, 308 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So he certainly did better than Matthew Stafford, who struggled big time. Only 221 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Calvin Johnson basically came out of the ball game in the second quarter, laboring on that ankle. It's obvious he's going to have to take some time out to get that fixed. It's not going to get better every week with him coming out there and limping around. And that's obviously hurting the Lions offense a lot. And then how about kicker Dan Carpenter for the Buffalo Bills? Second time this year that he was able to close the deal. You know, the Bills beat Chicago in week 1, had a big road victory where Carpenter knocked in the field goal. It was a 58-yarder yesterday that Carpenter knocked through to give the Bills a 17-14 win. The Bills are now 3-2, while the Lions are now 3-2 as well. And they've obviously got some issues that they have to fix out in Detroit. Another game where we see this happen, and again, this was just a massacre here. Everybody knew that the Jets did not stand a chance playing the San Diego Chargers, but I certainly would expect a little bit better effort than this. When you're looking at this Jets team right now, they can't run the football, they can't pass the football. These guys come in only converting 1 out of 12 third downs. Are you kidding me? I don't know what Rex Ryan is going to do. They're going to continue to stick with Geno Smith, and I can't blame them because with the receiving core that they have, I don't think Mike Vick is going to be able to change anything. And this team is done. The Jets are now 1-4. The only team they beat this year are the Raiders. No telling when they're going to get another victory. Just don't have the recipe for success. Again, when you have an offense that can't move the football, you're basically stuck in quicksand. And San Diego dominated this one. Phillip Rivers, 288 yards, 3 TDs. He continues to dominate. San Diego had 17 more minutes on time of possession. And the star of this game was backup running back. He's actually the third stringer. Brandon Oliver got in there. 19 carries, 114 yards and a touchdown. Also had 4 receptions for 68 yards and a TD. San Diego looking very strong now at 4-1. Another game that just was a blowout. We talked about this one. New England in Cincinnati on some other shows during the week. And we looked at this game 2 ways. We said, you know what? The Bengals can either come out this week, establish the run. They match up very well with New England. Stymied them last year when they played New England. That game was in Cincinnati, however, but held Tom Brady to 3 field goals. They were fresh off a bye week. They should have been focused. They should have had fresh legs. But obviously, we talked about Cincinnati also having the ability to just find ways to lose this football game. And that's exactly what happened. Now, don't get me wrong. New England came out very motivated. They played with the sense of urgency that they needed to rebound from their embarrassing 41-10 loss on last Monday night. But nonetheless, you're looking at this game in Cincinnati, 3 turnovers. They're 0 for 7 on third down conversions. They just never look good in this one, getting down 14-0 early. New England dominated this one. 17 minutes they were better than Cincinnati as far as time of possession. And they got the balance they needed on offense. Tom Brady, 292 passing yards, 2 TDs. A huge change from last week in Kansas City. Brady had all day to deliver from the pocket. He found Rob Gronkowski for 100 yards and a touchdown, spread the ball out really well. And Stephen Ridley was able to get it going on the ground with 113 rush yards and a TD. That win improves New England to 3-2, and Cincinnati now drops to 3-1. Let's take a look at one more game where we just seen the time of possession and the turnovers really haunt another team. That being the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens came out in this one, and on their first 2 drives, you're having 2 turnovers. Some of these teams, they have to realize when you're playing on the road especially, you cannot afford to turn the football over, and you cannot afford to not convert on third downs. I'm looking at the stat sheet here for Baltimore. They're converting 1 out of 11 third downs, which leads to Indianapolis having 17 more minutes on the time of possession. Neither team was able to run the football, but at the end of the day, Andrew Luck was able to make enough plays in the passing game. And, Indianapolis had 4 turnovers, Baltimore 3. So Indianapolis had 1 more, but it was just those first 2 really hit Baltimore hard. Not the type of start you want to get off to. And then again, when you can't convert third downs, it just kills your drives. You just, you're basically out there, first down, second down, third down, you're off the field. And so this was a very tight matchup. Torrey Smith had a key drop at the end of this one to Baltimore that could have allowed them an opportunity for a potential touchdown. Nonetheless, Baltimore did not do what they needed to do offensively on the road to win this one. The win for Indianapolis has them at 3-2. The loss for Baltimore now drops them to 3-2. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll go ahead and finish rounding out our Week 5 action from around the NFL. I am the NFL Exporter live on DerekShapiroShow.com, and you are listening to The Final Wrap. All right, welcome back to the final wrap. the official NFL sports talk show, live on DerekShapiroShow.com. I am your host, the NFL Exporter. Let's go ahead and jump back into our action from Week 5 around the NFL. We had the Pittsburgh Steelers hold on in a tight one. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 17-9. This was a very tight ball game. You knew that Jacksonville was going to play competitive at home after being trounced pretty much the entire season. But it was rookie Blake Bortles looking like a rookie. 191 yards, but threw two key interceptions, and particularly the one that finally sealed the deal with Pittsburgh up in this game 10-9 in the final quarter. It was Bortles throwing an interception to Pittsburgh's Bryce McLean, who returned that for a touchdown to seal the deal 17-9. In this game again for Bortles, definitely looked like a rookie, making some costly mistakes. And again, here's another team unable to convert on third downs, which you would expect that from a rookie. Jacksonville only converting 3 out of 12 third down conversions or possible conversions. Ben Roethlisberger, 273 yards and a touchdown. Antonio Brown had 5 catches, 84 yards. Le'Veon Bell, 15 carries, 82 yards. So Pittsburgh's offense is definitely set with their top 3 players. But again, it was Pittsburgh having 11 more minutes of time of possession to allow them to hold on with the win, along with the critical turnover by Jacksonville's rookie quarterback. You know he's going to be learning on the job, but obviously quarterback Chad Henne wasn't able to get the job done when he was in there. Pittsburgh improves to 3-2. Jacksonville is now 0-5, but we're looking at this Steelers team with the sideways eye, because if you're going into Jacksonville and eking out a victory, it's definitely cause for concern after the way they lost to Tampa Bay last week. The New York Football Giants improved to 3-2. They've got 3 straight wins underneath their belt. They'll certainly build in confidence on a week in and week out basis. The Atlanta Falcons continue to be a team who cannot win on the road, and the problems are the same for Atlanta. They are unable to run the football. They don't play any defense, and that is leading to quarterback Matt Ryan throwing the football way too much. He had 45 pass attempts. Look, don't get me wrong, Matt Ryan is definitely a quarterback who's more than capable of handling that. But every week, if you cannot run the football and you cannot play defense, you don't want to rely on your quarterback having to throw 40 times a week to give your team the best opportunity to win the football game. You turn around, you look at Eli Manning, was able to have a much more balanced attack, got over 100 yards on the ground from his backfield. He had 200 passing yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions. I think we've seen that with Eli Manning the last 3 weeks in his ball games. Not turning the football over has certainly allowed the Giants to be a lot more efficient. And the key play in this game came with about 7 minutes left. New York was up in this one 24-20. And Atlanta had the ball. It was 4th and 1. Atlanta's on their own 30-yard line, and instead of punting the ball, and I guess at that point you don't have any faith or confidence in your defense, but they go for it and end up suffering a sack. Josh Brown ends up knocking in the field goal to give the Giants a 27-20 lead, and then they get the ball back again. The Giants, after stopping Atlanta again, who is very predictable right now, passing every down, and end up sealing the deal with another Josh Brown field goal to make it 30-20. The Giants again now are 3-2. Atlanta 2-3. And I tell you, this is a team right now, again, who we talked about, these NFC South teams as a whole, not playing good football. You got teams like Atlanta and New Orleans who can't win away from their domes. Their defenses are playing horrible. They're having to pass the football 40 and 50 times a game. It's just not a recipe for success. You got the Philadelphia Eagles, another team who they're just finding ways to win. It's early in the season, but they're going to have to tighten up on the defensive side of the football if they expect to make any type of run in the playoffs. Week in and week out, this team has given up tons of points. Yesterday, they were up 34-14 in the third quarter, but ultimately St. Louis was able to hang around long enough. You got the third-string quarterback. He's the starter now, but Austin Davis was a third-round pick this year in the draft, and he's paying dividends. This guy, 375 yards and 3 TDs. It's just not acceptable when I'm looking at this Philadelphia Eagles defense. They both teams had 3 turnovers, so that kind of balanced itself out there. It was ultimately Philly just getting out to that 20-point lead that was just a little bit too much for St. Louis to come back from in this game. Shady McCoy did not find the end zone. He did have 81 rushing yards, but Philadelphia's offensive line, you can tell, it's got to get back healthy right now. That was an issue we were concerned about. They're not playing too well. And I tell you who is playing well, though, is Philly's special teams. Another punt block yesterday for a touchdown, and that ended up being a difference in this one. You got the Eagles now improving to 4-1. The Rams are now 1-3. In other action, we seen the Denver Broncos blow out the Arizona Cardinals. Now, we knew in this one, when you see the Cardinals had a backup quarterback in Drew Stanton, you knew that he would not be able to match Peyton Manning point for point. And this one kind of unraveled in the way that we expected. Now, Peyton Manning became only the second quarterback in NFL history to throw for 500 TD passes in a career. He's now just 5 behind Brett Favre. He's obviously going to shatter that record, but just really took it to Arizona's defense. 479 passing yards, 4 TDs. His main target for the day was Demaryius Thomas. He set a franchise record with 226 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. And one thing about when you play Denver, you cannot afford to have mistakes, especially when the game is in Denver. You know it's going to be a track race. And Arizona early just had some key drops. Rookie John Brown dropped a potential 3rd down conversion. He was just overthrown on a potential touchdown. And when you're playing against Denver, you've got to be perfect, basically, because when they get the football, you know that they're going to cash in. This was a game here where you're seeing Arizona only convert 3 out of 16 3rd down conversions, which allowed Denver 11 more minutes of time in possession. And you just don't need to give Peyton Manning in that offense any type of leeway or extra room. Nonetheless, Denver improves to 3-1. That was Arizona's first loss of the year. They are now 3-1 as well. And then we've seen the San Francisco 49ers get a big home victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. This game was pretty even. You had a couple things take place. Now, look, both running backs, Jamal Charles had 15 carries, 80 yards for Kansas City. Frank Gore had his second straight 100-yard rushing game. But ultimately, it was 13 more minutes of time of possession for San Francisco that allowed them to eke this one out. Now, Kansas City had a 17-13 lead with about 10 minutes left in the third quarter after Alex Smith found rookie DeAnthony Thomas for a swing pass that he was able to take into the end zone. But after that, San Francisco's defense clamped down. They did not allow another point to Kansas City. Phil Dawson had 3 field goals to seal the deal. And Alex Smith had an opportunity to win this one for Kansas City, but in the final drive, he threw an interception, which was the only turnover in this game. And so, again, here's a team in San Francisco at home and not turning the football over, running the football effectively, playing tough defense when it counted, and, again, winning that time of possession battle certainly allowed for them to win this ball game. San Francisco is now 3-2. Kansas City is now 2-3. And to round out the action of Week 5 football in the NFL, it was the Seattle Seahawks beating the Washington Redskins on Monday Night Football by the score of 27-17. As we have discussed a couple times in the show already, quarterback Russell Wilson just continues to improve each and every week. And this guy can hurt you in so many ways. And I'm going to tell you, the thing I love about Russell Wilson is that he does not turn the football over. I mean, this guy really knows how to protect the football. I would say his awareness, his understanding of the game, when he needs to run, when he needs to slide, how many yards he needs to pick up, how to extend plays, throws the football very accurately, can read defenses. Man, this guy is just a big-time player. I tell you, I think if he continues at this pace, he's certainly going to be in a run for the MVP talks when the season is over. Now, the win improved Seattle to 3-1. Washington dropped to 1-4. And for the Redskins, it is still early. But I would say that next week's game at Arizona is a must-win. If you drop to 1-5, that leaves 10 games left in the regular season. You've pretty much got to win out from there. I mean, is really not going to be too much more room for a lot of losing if you get off to a 1-5 start. And so, man, I know they're going to be under a lot of pressure going out to Arizona. Nonetheless, outside of Russell Wilson, what was interesting in this one, Percy Harvin, that is something I would like to look up. When is the last time that a player has had 3 touchdowns called back in the same game? Yeah, that's right. Percy Harvin scored 3 times last on Monday Night Football. Nonetheless, all 3 touchdowns were called back due to penalties. After the game, he said he was dumbfounded. I can't blame him. I've never heard of anything that crazy happening. Also, running back Marshawn Lynch had 117 all-purpose yards. Another receiving touchdown. This is something that I feel is certainly undervalued. I did not know Marshawn Lynch. I'm not going to say I didn't know he could catch the football, but Seattle is definitely taking advantage of his ability to catch out of the backfield this year. That's a pleasant surprise. Kirk Cousins played well, just not good enough. 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. Deshaun Jackson was the recipient of that. Had 157 of those yards and a touchdown. But ultimately, what Seattle does is make you one-dimensional. They put you in a situation where if you can't run the football on them, then you have to pass. And I will say this about Seattle's defense this year. It hasn't been as dominant as we've seen it the last couple years. But they know they make the key plays when they have to. And, they're sound enough that they get enough third down stops. And they certainly know how to keep teams out the end zone. And so, they held Alfred Morris in check. And when you have to end up passing the football against Seattle, or any defense for that matter, to have to move the chains, it's a challenge. It's much easier to run than it is pass. And so Seattle's defense continues to play well against the run, making teams one-dimensional. As I said, Kirk Cousins did a good job, didn't throw an interception. But at the end of the day, when you can't run the football, certainly kind of plays into Seattle's hands. That is going to wrap up another outstanding show. We are about to move into the 6th week of the NFL season already. Time is just moving along. Before we get out of here, one more time, let's make sure you know how to find me on my social networks. On Twitter, that's at NFLExporter. Facebook.com/NFLExporter. The email address to the show is NFLExporter@yahoo.com. And go to youtube.com to check out all of my videos. You click on channels in the search engine, put NFL Exporter. And for Twitter, Facebook, the email address, and YouTube, NFL Exporter is spelled NFLExporter. And the call-in number to the show, again, I'm going to make it a point. I'm going to work hard this week to get some callers to call in. I'd love to hear what's going on with your fantasy teams, and also call in talk about maybe your football team. And so I'll certainly be looking forward to getting some callers on here to bring a little bit more diversity to the show. Just in regards to, I know a lot of people listen, but I got to get you guys to call in and talk a little bit of football with me. For Derek Shapiro, you can find him on Twitter at Derek Shapiro Show. Again, that's Derek Shapiro. Show is spelled S-H-O. There is no W. And then on Facebook.com, it's Derek Shapiro. So Facebook.com/Derek Shapiro. And you'll see again a picture of Derek with former Fugees member Wyclef Jean. Everyone have a safe week. Enjoyed this week's NFL action. I wish you best of luck to my fantasy football owners. Also to everybody out there. I'm quite sure you have a favorite team. Hope your team can win. Make sure to join me again each and every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go out and tell a friend. The Final Wrap, without question, is your best sports talk radio show that recaps all of your NFL and fantasy football action. I am the NFL Exporter, signing out 1100.